We are live. Welcome to Chainlink Live. My name's Andy Boyan, talking to G-Funk, the comic man from pixelvault. Really excited to have this AMA Q&A situation. Thanks for being here, man. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me, Andy.
My absolute pleasure. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I have a little intro vibe that I like to do. So I'm going to do a little Chainlink intro. Ready?
I'm ready for it.
Smell the fresh air of that Chainlink intro. Oh, isn't it crisp? I love how it pops.
The stage has been set.
Now
Love
we're really live. We got a bunch of people out there watching. Hello, everyone. Glad to have you here. We can see your comments in the chat. So if you want to say hi, ask questions of G Funk, that no problem. We'll chat with you as much as we can. pixelvault recently integrated Chainlink, and so we're going to talk a little bit about that today, and just kind of go over, because pixelvault, I've been like watching your Twitter feed and checking out what you guys have going on, which is a ton of stuff. So let's start, like, what is it from a high level? What is pixelvault? Where do comics fit in? What's your place in the NFT metaverse?
Yeah, so you could say that we are an IP business that leverages NFT technology, Web3 more broadly, to bring that IP to life. Opening up the IP in a way that traditional media has been unable to, right? Allowing the community to literally build the IP alongside of us in a way that drives value to both them and the project as a whole. Early this year, prior to the release of Punk's comic, we started to see that these certain people on Twitter, your influencers, right? We're developing brands behind CryptoPunks. And so I thought, okay, let's take that to the next level and build, actual fiction and storylines behind these characters. And we collected together 16 CryptoPunks and developed a comic. And so that's sort of how pixelvault was born. And since then, we've launched MetaHero, which is sort of a spin-off of that project. And ultimately, pixelvault will be a collection of a handful of different IPs that are carefully curated and interwoven with one another, and building out sort of a Marvel 3.0, right? A Marvel for the metaverse.
So I feel like you're kind of the signature is this Punk's comic. I just put it up on the screen because, like, this art is so cool to me, right? You guys have this blend of comic books, but also like a real kind of anarchist fuck you mentality, like, thing
Yes.
going on that I just totally dig as well. Talk a little bit about the genesis of this. Like, where does this come from the art? Like, where does it come from? And then I absolutely want to talk about the other stuff too, the meta planets and all that stuff as well. But let's just start here because this is a cool origin story.
Yeah. So talking about the art, we have an amazing comic artist, Chris Wall, formerly of Marvel and DC, and he's sort of most known for his work on this title called Tank Girl. And
Oh,
we
that's
thought,
what.
yeah,
That's it. Oh, I love
yes,
it.
exactly. And so that kind of vibe from Tank Girl was sort of exactly what we were going for with Punks. And now his art style has really sort of become synonymous with our brand, and he's taken over MetaHero, etc. But yeah, so the origins of Punks, right? We gathered together these 16 CryptoPunks. When you bought the original Genesis comic, you actually get to stake starting next week for fractionalized Punks tokens. So you in a very real way own these 16 CryptoPunks that were the basis for building out this story. So it's a cool way to allow people access to these higher dollar amount, higher ETH amount NFTs, right? Everybody sort of wants to participate in these very culturally important collections like CryptoPunks, but the price point is insanely high. And so the comic, in addition to leveraging this idea of building value through IP, was also a way to give access to the broader community for a collection that is obviously very important in the history of NFTs, being the first NFT on the Ethereum blockchain.
Are you guys? Did you guys do the fractionalization yourself? Is it like a platform for that, or you have a partner with that?
Yeah, so we were a launch partner with Fractional Art.
Oh, cool. That we're
Yeah,
very well known,
yeah.
fractionalization. And can you explain once again, just so I have it straight in my head? I get the comic and I can stake it as part of a piece of one of these 16 punks, or is it of like the whole collection bundled, or how does that
Yeah,
work?
so it's the whole collection. So the cool thing about fractional is you're not actually sharding the token, right? It's in a vault, and then that vault is tokenized. So there are 100 million punks tokens, And when you have the Genesis comic, you're able to stake that for 50% of the tokens. And now, after our sort of crazy burn mechanics, all of the game theory that's built into the pixelvault ecosystem, we're down to somewhere around 3,500 Genesis comics. So those comics will stake to earn 50% of the overall Punks tokens. pixelvault has 25%. And then our founders DAO, which was sort of the first decision that people were given at the outset of the project, they hold collectively as a DAO 25% of the Punks tokens.
So when I did research on this a while ago, because we scheduled this a while ago, but haven't got to talk for like a month. And now I'm remembering the game mechanics here, the game theory are fascinating. Like, you guys are clearly crypto heads, because there was a deal where you had to decide. You get a comic and you have to decide, do I stake it? Do I keep it for potential secondary market or for collector's value? Or do I, a burn? It's a burn mechanic?
It's a burn
for these sorts of things. Talk a little bit about that. How do you come to those decisions? Do you just like get a crazy dream one night and you wake up and you scroll it down and then pitch it to the community, or do you guys like workshop that? Do you have a test net? Like how do you think through some of these incentive mechanisms?
Yeah, so I've really tried to embrace this kind of like Willy Wonka-esque vibe. At the outset, so you buy the comic and you were immediately faced with this decision. Okay, do I keep the comic or do I burn it for this awesome DAO token designed by FuckRender? We call it the diamond hands. You would have to see the art image to really get an understanding of why it's called that. But you could stake it for these 50% of the Punks tokens, or you could burn for the DAO, which has an awesome one-of-one piece by Hackatow, a one-of-one custom piece by Killer Acid, Robbie Trevino. We have the Lost Robbie, which I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's this really amazing collection of art done by Robbie Barrett, and they were given out in these little gift bags at a Christie's event back in very early 2018, when no one was really paying attention to NFTs, and you had to redeem this card that came in the gift bag to get this Lost Robbie, and most of the people just threw them away. And so now there has been this sort of treasure hunt looking for these old discarded redemptions, and they're selling for like, each NFT is selling for like $1 million. There are roughly 20 of them that have been discovered at this point, but that was actually the storyline for the first comic, is the hunt for the Lost Robbies. So it's this kind of play on NFT treasure hunting, and that's in the vault. So a lot of really cool one-of-one art, plus this percentage of the Punks token. So we tried to create this 50-50 proposition, and really everything that pixelvault does, we try to keep it a very active and engaged collecting process, where at the end, your collection will very much be a reflection on who you are, your preferences, your thought processes. Are you risk averse? Are you a risk taker? Are you someone that likes to diversify your holdings, right, over this DAO? Or are you somebody that wants to stake your claim on the comic alone, right? So that's sort of a core proposition to the business, is introducing a lot of decision points and allowing people to actively collect.
That's a really interesting mechanic, right? NFTs have so many different use cases, and it's not just as a collector's item, but as a collection process. As an active collector, that's a term that resonates now, especially after the last 6 months, a year, seeing how the space is done. That's not the only NFT use case, right? There's clearly gaming NFTs. I'm a gamer, so like I want to play, I want to use things, I want to transact a lot, which is very different than holding or collecting or deciding what to stake in here and there. But seeing that active management and clearly a community that cares about that is really cool.
Yeah, and we're developing an actual video game now. And you hear people asking like, oh, when's the game coming out? And the response is always, the game has been going since May 10th, right? This gamification of the collection process is really sort of the origin of the game that is pixelvault.
I got a good audience question here, which ties into one of my questions. Of course, this is Chainlink, and pixelvault is using Chainlink. So Alien asks, is Chainlink into the metaverse or gaming? Can't find anything about it. Do some Googling. We do some SEO around that to make sure that you will be able to find it. But here's the deal. So Chainlink is infrastructure. It's underlying stuff to make things in Web3 work. And for NFTs, very often projects need random numbers. And so if pixelvault wants to do a random distribution, you want a secure random number. Chainlink VRF is a way to get a secure random number on chain in a secure and transparent way. So it can't be manipulated. Nobody can know what the seed is and try to predict what it's going to be and then game the system. And it's transparent. So anybody can go back and verify, was it actually random? Was it secure? So that's how Chainlink, a lot of NFT projects are using Chainlink in this way. Chainlink does other stuff as well that's metaverse related. We just put up a piece, actually. I'll go and find it in just a sec and link it about what Chainlink has to do with the metaverse. I helped write it, so I'm partial to that one, a metaverse guy. But yeah, basically it's infrastructure level stuff. G-Funk, how are you guys using Chainlink? Do you have a specific mechanic for distribution or randomization that you can talk about?
Yeah, so our very first one, and the one that people have tended to be most excited about, is our distribution of our core characters. So the cores, the easiest way to think about them is they are the IP that we are actively building through our efforts to do a major release animated series through the comics, both Punk's comic and MetaHero, and then ultimately the game. So we have 146 characters that are the core of our universe. And these have been turned into NFTs, and we're actually distributing these 146 characters for free to our community in batches of 12. And these NFTs have been selling for several hundreds of thousands of dollars on the secondary. So as you can imagine, it's quite critical that we have this proven, fair, and random distribution. And so we're leveraging Chainlink's technology in the distribution of those NFTs, and then ultimately people are able to monetize that NFT commercially, throw it on a sweatshirt, etc. So as the IP that we're trying to build becomes more relevant, more important, these people will ultimately be able to participate in the commercial success of those characters.
Well, part of the excitement of NFTs, of tokens in general, is everybody has a chance. Everybody's got a shot. And if you are thoughtful about, joining a community and being active, you can have a shot at getting something that has value, whatever that value means to you, whether it's financial or community or whatever it is. But one of the things you want is you want to make sure that's fairly distributed. If you're early, you're early. But if only G-Funk and I have the chance to get a really rare NFT, that doesn't seem fair, and nobody wants to participate in a rigged system. And so having that transparency is a fundamental part of blockchain. That's one of the really great reasons for VRF. And when you release a new project, you want people to come in and have another shot. Maybe you can get a super rare, something like that. So a good part of that. What's the name of that collection again?
Yeah, so they're the MetaHero Core Identities.
All right, I'm going to bring up some art of the MetaHeroes as well. Go ahead while I'm doing that.
So, and it's also very important that our community knows, how that distribution works on our side. So if you hold one of our mint passes, which is what you needed to ultimately burn to get your generative identity, which you're looking at here. So the generative identities were based on the 146 core characters, and then their traits were randomized, and they result in these sort of unique characters. There could be 10,000 of them. But once you mint your MetaHero identity and burn that mint pass, now you're out of the running to win a core. So we created this push-pull again, where people were deciding, like, okay, do I want to burn my mint pass to get my generative identity and these other free things that come along with having it ahead of this specific snapshot that just took place? Or do I want to hold on to the mint pass and try and win one of these core characters that are very valuable and are distributed leveraging Chainlink? And interestingly enough, it also ended up about 50-50, where about 5,000 holders decided to burn their mint pass to get their generative identity. And we have, I think, 4,000 some odd still holding on to their mint passes, trying to win the remaining just over 100 core characters. So far, I think we've given out 36. So 110 left.
I'm trying to navigate my sharing screen here because there's other really cool ones as well. You can clearly see the features here, right? You got cool ammo belt and earrings and all sorts of interesting. Ooh, no eyes. I like that. Or white eyes. I like that. That's my jam right there. All right. These are cool, man. And again, that cool art style as well. Appreciate that. What? Sorry, I get distracted by the art and this kind of
Yeah.
cool thing.
So if you look at the characters, right, the armored suit is one specific core's outfit, right? The spotted skin belongs to a different core. So ultimately, these generative identities are a reflection of the core collection. But the holders of these generative identities have complete commercial rights. So they can literally do whatever they want with them. And so that's this core premise that I touched on at the outset, where the community will actively be building out their own IP around this core collection that we are developing. So yeah, the power of Web3 right there.
So that's awesome. Clearly, your community is engaged. Or you get this really cool art. You've got all this super active collectors, high value in the ecosystem. Turning a little bit to IP, and when I think of IP, you mentioned like the new Marvel universe, this new MCU. We kind of think of big IP. Does this project, do Web3 projects, NFT projects have enough momentum, have enough of that flywheel, that Lindy effect to be part of a mainstream media IP situation? Or does it matter? Like, do you have enough momentum doing your own thing where it might not necessarily matter? You said you've got a video game you're working on. Is that a transition to mainstream, or is it building for a really hardcore niche audience, 1,000, 10,000 users that really, really care? Do you have thoughts around that? You've clearly had to have thought about some of that stuff.
Yeah. So I am actively engaged with conversations among the traditional media superpowers. So it's definitely something that they are very well aware of, right? The ability to monetize IP in a way that is unparalleled in sort of current economic formulations. And they see that these communities that we've all, not just us, but everyone have managed to build in Web3 are just so much stronger because people have a real financial incentive to participate in the building of this IP. So I think you've seen brands. I mean, look at what the Bored Apes have done, right? They launched a couple weeks before us, and their followers are like, insanely passionate about the Bored Apes. In a traditional media player, it would take them decades probably to build that sort of brand loyalty. And you're seeing things happen in such compressed timeframes here in kind of this next gen Web3 environment. So it's definitely on the radar of the traditional media powers. We're talking to them about developing MetaHero specifically into an animated series. And ultimately, the goal there is to create something that you don't necessarily need to be crypto native to appreciate, but certainly it can help onboard others to this NFT crypto environment and provide people the ability to interact in a real way with creators and the community. Like you would never have the opportunity to speak with the illustrator for Disney, right? But you can do that in Web3. So I
So
definitely
I've got a couple of questions.
it has legs. Yes.
I got a couple of questions, and I'm just curious. I won't be able to remember all of them because you said a bunch of amazing things. Thing one, traditional media has historically been really possessive of IP, such that it would be weird for me to hold like a fraction of Mickey Mouse and then get a cut of whatever Mickey Mouse is in or something like that. Just as an example, Disney was so protective of Mickey Mouse that for 25 years, they couldn't make any Mickey Mouse cartoons because they themselves didn't want to mess up his brand, his lineage, and control of that. It's only been really recently that they put out some new Mickey Mouse cartoons, which are hilarious, by the way. They are absolutely gut-stitchingly funny, legitimately funny. But aside from that, there's been game companies, same sort of thing. Like to have a piece of IP is kind of antithetical to how Web 2 and how these traditional things have emerged. So do they say they get it and then they're going to have to wrap their minds around it? Is this going to be a push and pull, or do they understand like if there's an independent marketplace that thrives, it benefits like a secondary effect to the primary? Have they talked about that at all?
Yeah, I'd like to say that they get it already, but they're still working their way there. I think working with existing creators in the space is going to be a great kind of like first experience for them, sort of dipping their toes into the power of what Web3 can be prior to potentially them releasing some of their own held IP in a manner that is consistent with what we're looking to do. But there is a genuine desire to get out in front of this because they've seen the growth potential here. Nobody wants to be the next Blockbuster being completely uprooted by Netflix. So I would say that with corporate deals that we have both entered into and are exploring right now, it's still a quite laborious process getting through the red tape and the attorneys, but the effort is there. They see the potential, and it's just a matter of getting sort of the corporate hierarchy to buy in.
Yeah.
So I think you'll see more sort of like tempered entrances into the space for now.
Well, NFTs have been a P2P business. I, as an individual, make a decision to do something or not, whereas a company, Disney, just as an example, or whoever it is, not that you're working necessarily, I'm not saying you're working, but whoever it is.
I don't think Disney will be the first person to dip their toes in the water.
But they've got this corporate structure of historically where you've got to educate a lot of people and get a lot of people on mind. So in mind. For that, so it will take education, which
it can be done though. Right? We have a big sort of corporate partner in conjunction with our comic number 2, which is releasing at the beginning of December. And I mean, to have this project come to fruition, I mean, there have to be 70 different people in their organization that have touched it, which is not how things operate in our environment, right?
Ship it and then fix it.
Exactly. But there is the effort there, right? If they're taking the time to try and learn this and introduce 70 people across their organization to what Web3 can be and what that can mean for their brand, it's there, it's coming, but we will certainly need to do some dragging if we really want to be working with these existing major corporations.
Community, I see your questions, I see your comments, and I'm going to get to some of them, but I'm having a really engaging conversation and I got a microphone, so I'm going to keep asking. Because another thing you said earlier was, I think there's an assumption, and I think it's probably a good assumption, but I've seen a couple of NFT projects say this thing, and I'm wondering if there's any evidence of success here yet, which is, if we can get NFTs in an animated series in front of the mainstream, if we can put them on billboards, if we can put them in Times Square, which we saw, a month ago at NFT NYC, then average people who are not necessarily collectors will get exposure, will be able to enjoy them, and that will lead them down the path to Web3. Do we have evidence of that? Has that happened yet? Or are we kind of making an assumption that we can put that cart before that horse and get things going in that way? I'm not saying it won't work. I'm not sure. I just haven't seen that really work yet.
Yeah, I mean, we do not have proof of that yet. Projects like mine are the first sort of going down that path, making an effort. But you're starting to see, the Bored Apes have obviously had a ton of success recently in sort of entering that mainstream zeitgeist, right? NBA players, comedians, etc., are now buying these Bored Apes, and so I would say that it's a pretty strong indicator that this hypothetical is starting to take shape right in front of our eyes, and it's only taken these brands 8-10 months to do so, and as their collection has gotten more mainstream eyeballs, right, the prices of their NFTs have increased, which was sort of all of our proposition at the outset. So I feel pretty strongly that once the material gains this certain level of exposure, and I think a video game or an animated series would certainly do that, you'll see appeal of the NFT collection follow suit, the value of that collection increase, and providing these free commercial rights to holders, I think will be incredibly powerful in taking that next step, as people will be able to create their sort of own offshoot brands around that core IP.
I mean, and in the media environment today, if you look at what's on just on television or in the movies, you don't have to be an MCU to be. You don't have to be the NBA. Like those are really like massive brands that cover so much. You can have a insane amount of success being a niche cartoon series. Like look at Rick and Morty. The following there is so passionate and so fervent, and like the merch that goes along with it. That brand is really strong, even if it's not half of America or half of the world watching. It's still a pretty niche show. So their success, even much lower volumes as a Rick and Morty, they're still really successful brands that can do incredibly well with fewer volumes. That's still mainstream adoption, like technically, but like the media environment is splintered already. So all you need to do is catch a splinter.
I think Rick and Morty is actually a really good example because I would say that the target market overlaps pretty significantly with those that are involved in crypto and NFTs, but that it has taken that sort of next jump, and it has, well, it's always existed in sort of the mainstream. So I think that if you were to sort of today take an NFT brand and envision what that might look like in the mainstream, I think Rick and Morty is a great example of what that could be today.
We got some audience questions about some of the staking, some of the mechanics and things like that. So I'm going to pop through them. If you can't answer, just be like, can't answer yet next, or whatever it happens to be. But we'll start with this one. It was said all the cores would be distributed over 180 days. Are we still on schedule to have the remainder given out in the next 3 months? Can you comment on the schedule?
So I think the original plan was to distribute them over a year. I'm not sure what the comment there on 180 days was. I could be wrong. There are a lot of timeframes that I'm trying to keep track of, but yes, roughly speaking, we're looking to have them distributed over the next year. They were sort of on hold because it was tied to some of the necessary snapshots that needed to take place. But we're distributing 12 more, I think, here in the next couple of weeks, and then probably once more between now and the end of the year.
Cool.
So yeah, looking to do at least one release a month, possibly two.
Yes, I love all your profile names because I can't pronounce any of them. Can you please tell us how to become a part of this community? Akias has been asking that a little bit. Are you guys Discord heavy? You got definitely a Twitter presence as well. You do Twitter Spaces, I assume. Where can people find out about you?
I do a weekly town hall, typically on Wednesdays at 11 o'clock Eastern. Although sometimes I'll shift it around to accommodate other time zones. And then definitely our Discord GG pixelvault.
We got a link in the chat, and we'll have it down below too.
Yeah, and our community is extremely helpful. Our mods are amazing. They can answer any questions you have. And certainly reaching out to any of us on Twitter. We're pretty actively engaged on Twitter. You can reach most of us, including myself. So yeah, lots of ways to start getting involved. Certainly there are a lot of
Chainlink YouTube events like this.
Exactly.
Exactly. You're starting.
There are a lot of decisions and a lot of questions. So we're working on increasing the amount of information and touch points that we have for our community, but lots of ways to get in touch with us.
Cool. Jake is asking about the punks and the POW tokens and how there might be some gamification there. So one I wasn't sure of, if you can talk about.
Yeah, I can't reveal the gamification for POW yet, but staking will begin in sort of a more basic sense starting next week, and then we'll have additional details on sort of the intermediate plans for the POW token as we work towards launching that full game universe.
You're also very popular. Danny-san here. Scotch is a hero.
Danny's a core holder, so appreciate you.
Awesome. All right, let me see. I'm going back down here. All right, I think we've done pretty good on our questions. If you guys have more, feel free to pop them in. I came across a piece of art on the Twitter that I wanted to bring up, and I didn't see exactly how it was connected. So remind me. Let me just share my screen here, because this is just a really cool GIF here. It's got sound to it too. It's a moon.
Yes.
What's going on here? What is this?
So this is the Moon DAO token. So I can do a brief synopsis of what we're building with the MetaHero universe. I guess you would call it a gameverse, gaming platform. Ultimately, the community is going to build this AAA level game platform alongside of us. And there will be 10 unique environments in the game. So the 8 planets plus the moon and Pluto. And the moon, in order to participate in that ecosystem, you need to own the DAO token, right? If you want to make decisions on a planetary level for the moon, you need to own the DAO token. The only way to get that DAO token was to burn comic issue 1. So that was another one of those gamifications of that collecting process. And that was the final burn opportunity of comic issue 1. So the moon is comprised basically of our longest term holders and what we sort of look at as one of our strongest community bases. And ultimately they have a quite outsized voting power for the game that we're building collectively. And yeah, another nutshell synopsis, each planet sort of operates like a state, and then the up DAO is sort of like the federal government. So people will vote for platform level decisions at the planetary level, and then the planet will vote its proportional share of the up DAO vote. So each planet will have a certain proportional say in what happens with the game. And then at a planetary level, they could decide, okay, you know, let's sell plots of land, or maybe let's distribute the land to the holders of the DAO tokens, or, you know, this is how we envision resources being allocated on our planet in the game. So they'll have both planetary level decisions to make and ultimately game level decisions to make. So it's going to be both a technological feat in the way of empowering 10 different DAOs to work together, and also sort of a sociological experiment to see how these votes take shape across these different groups of people. You've seen sort of the memification of the Uranus DAO. Pluto DAO has also kind of become a meme. So seeing how all of these people interact will be interesting for sure.
What's up, DAO?
Yeah, so up DAO is the game. So
G-Funk, no, I set you up,
the
man.
joke, what's up, DAO?
Come on, what's up, DAO? Not much what's up with you. Sorry,
Yes.
I had to. Anyways, you can talk about what's up, DAO as well, but I had to set you up. Knock it out next time, all right?
Right, okay. I wasn't sure if you sort of deadpanned that joke,
I know.
so I wasn't sure if it was a question or not. Yes.
Sorry, I had to try and tee it up. Guts gets it. Here we go. Sorry to non-native English speakers, but I had to try for the joke. What is up DAO? Real quick.
Like the actual technical explanation. So that's sort of that federal government. So decisions on how the game itself will look and how funds will be distributed back to the planets, the look and feel of gameplay, those will be decisions made at the up DAO level. And then, like I was saying, sort of resources and land distributions, etc., will take place on a planet by planet level.
Now, when you say AAA, I think years timeline. Like the AAA games are not, we're going to ship it in 22 usually. I'm not going to ask you for any dates, but I think it's helpful for communities to understand kind of what kind of expectations are in mind when it comes to stuff like this. So is that really what you're thinking? Something that's a much longer time frame, years in the making, to make sure you have the talent and the art and all that?
Yeah. So right now we're actively engaged in discussions with top tier game studios. We're going to partner with a top tier game studio to help bring this to life. We will be aiming at sort of a staged release, right? So ultimately there will be sort of a P2P combat type game where people will be able to experience the look and feel. So it'll be a kernel of the overall game experience, but that's something we can ship much sooner than this massive sort of universe type experience. Then we will next work towards releasing gameplay for Mercury. And that was why the Mercury token was more expensive, because at some point in time, all of the users in this system that we're building together will be interacting on a single planet. And so that provides added opportunities for monetization, which are still to be determined, how that will actually take effect. But yes, certainly this is a multi-year time frame that we're looking at, but we will be sure to gamify it in a fun way along the way. So staggering actual gameplay releases, NFT collectible experiences that are tied to the game itself. So we're aware the attention spans that people have in this space. I mean, 6 months here is like 45 years anywhere else.
Yeah.
So
I want to just call out the art
of
on this. If it's anything like that, this is pristine. I don't know how well the resolution comes through, so go find it on Twitter as well. It's on the pixelvault tweet. It's on GFunk's Twitter as well. It's just the star charts and the rotation and the glowing and I mean, you're hitting it out of the park with this. So really nice aesthetic on the comic, on this stuff. Your designers clearly like understand a vibe and are getting at that. So
yeah,
it's
and
at least for me.
Yeah, each of the planet tokens has different musical track as well.
Oh yeah, I can't hear it through here, but
yeah, it sort of alludes to the vibe of what that planet might be. So definitely check out the planet token sound on.
G-Funk, this has been really awesome. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for your community, and I am just stoked that I got a chance to talk to you. We talked about how to get involved, kind of head to those Twitter spaces, head to that Discord and get involved there. What's next on the short-term roadmap? You said, you mentioned a couple things at the top, but go ahead and cover a couple of those things again. What's coming up next in the next few weeks and months?
I would say a really great way to get involved with the project in a way that is other than purchasing on the secondary will be Comic Issue 2. And that's going to be in partnership with a few other communities in the space and also this major corporate partner. And we'll also be doing some other things in conjunction with that comic that will be happening in the weeks and months after that. So Issue 2 is in conjunction with the Bored Apes. We ran this contest called Ape Madness back in, I don't know, August or so, when the floor for the Bored Apes was like 1 ETH. So this was like in a different lifetime, it feels like. But
is that only August?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, when we announced it, it was like 1 ETH that we were going to be partnering with them. But ultimately, it was a March Madness style bracket. We had 64 apes enter. Well, several hundred, I think like 600 apes entered. We narrowed down our favorites to the final 64. And then on Twitter, the community actively voted in these matchups, and we got down to the final 8. And so those 8 apes will actually be featured in the comic, and we're doing some things in terms of revenue sharing, giving them special edition covers, etc. So it'll be a first of its kind in kind of this Web3 community monetization aspect. And that will also be a cheap price point for people to start getting involved. And we always make sure to give priority for future drops to our community. And so it's a good way to get in, participate, learn more about the community at a low price point, and see where that takes you. And the rabbit hole at pixelvault goes pretty deep, so we think you'll stay.
I usually do these like 20 minutes, 25 minutes, because the views on YouTube afterwards, like people don't watch that long, but not this one. I had to go full 40 because I am fascinated by this.
Lots of questions for this.
And I really appreciate you taking the time and hanging out, talking to me and bringing members of your community. And clearly there's some new people here as well. Welcome to you. Thank you for your questions as well. G-Funk, can we connect again? Like, I want to go down the rabbit hole and like, let's talking. Because I think there's some really interesting questions we don't have time for today about similar to DeFi. Once you get a bunch of funding and tokens, and then you can build weird stuff, you have the ability to do that. That's what this feels like. It's like, okay, we have value. Now we can build weird stuff. You don't have to stick to the same playbook that every media company has done for the past 60 years. Let's get weird. And you're clearly getting weird in really cool ways, and it's engaging your community in a fantastic way. So I want to dig into that another time.
Not everyone has gotten everything we're doing right at the outset, but people get it eventually. So we're definitely going to stay weird.
Stay weird. I love it. Dude, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. And we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Andy. Appreciate you.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate the community questions, the involvement. You've been really engaged. Like and subscribe. Hang out, because I do these Q&As with really interesting teams all the time. We usually do a couple a week. I got some more next week. I'm not sure who. Let's see. They're on my calendar. Eureka. And Eureka is doing a really interesting thing with music and IP. So if you're into art and IP, come to that one as well. That's next Tuesday, the 30th at noon Eastern. So follow the smart_contract Twitter account, where we announce when these are coming up, when they're going live. And you can follow me on Twitter as well. I'm at Andy Boy, and I tweet about these and other random terrible dad jokes like "What's up, DAO?" Thanks, Guts, for catching that. Thanks for your enthusiasm and catching my terrible joke. Anyways, like and subscribe. You can follow Chainlink as well for a ton more information about that. And we appreciate you guys being here. Talk to you next time. Peace.